Yeah, well,
Well, all right.
this is just the beginning
Blades
phase.
Brown.
Philip Rivers is a name.
Yes, it is.
Mike McDaniel, Philip Rivers. You know, we're sort of like not sparring, but kind of like throwing shots by each other about Mike McDaniel in the last few months. And here he is now, after signing up to be the Chargers offensive coordinator, interviewing with the Bills to be the head coach. So this is is this a new thing where...
I was going to say, this year, this feels new to me, where teams, sorry, I don't mean to take over here, but right, we're in agreement. Brian Flores is returning as our defense coordinator. Unless he gets a head coaching job. And this McDaniel thing is the same thing, and I don't recall that ever happening before. I mean, I know coordinators that are in jobs are, obviously, nobody's going to block them from going to interview for a head coaching job, but to agree as long as just seems that seems new to me this year. I've never noticed that before. Yeah,
I think we've talked about whether these candidates have to decide whether to, quote, settle for an assistant job before, the head coaching jobs dry up. It seems like now you don't have to worry about it.
I wonder what kind of timeline a team like the Vikings, that's where Flores was and is reportedly going to stay unless he gets a head coaching job. Same with McDaniel, the Chargers. I wonder what kind of timeline they give a guy like that. Like how because what are the Chargers doing? The Chargers are standing still for now, hoping that Mike McDaniel becomes their offensive coordinator. But if the Bills want to hire him as their head coach and he wants to do it, then they're back in line looking for an offensive coordinator. And I wouldn't like that even as a fan, let alone the team. Like if the Bills were in the market for just an offensive coordinator this offseason.
And they hired him.
And Mike McDaniel was the choice. Like, you know what? Sean McDermott, I've always wanted to work with Mike. I respect how hard it is to scheme against his offenses. I think it's going to be a real great thing to have for us. And he's going to take the job, unless the Jets call. What? I'm settling into all right, I got my guy, but not really. I don't know. That seems weird to me.
In the name of fairness for the coaches, you could end up, if it didn't work like that, you could just end up being frozen out. And you're hoping for, what's Matt Nagy at this point? Is he sort of hoping for Arizona or somebody to hire him? And if they don't, I don't know what's left for him. But, that's also, I guess, in the present. McDaniel... It's good for the people. It's good for the individuals.
It's good for the coaches for sure. Yeah, maybe Nagy ends up with the Chargers if Mike McDaniel ends up here. I don't know, but it's another layer of the musical chairs that we get at this time of the year that I don't recall ever experiencing before.
Well, I have 8 names as a list of people the Bills plan to talk to, and that does not include Clint Kubiak, who they can't make that official until Seattle plays on Sunday, or Davis Webb, Denver, same situation, right? Or Mike McCarthy. I don't see his name on my list.
Why didn't you mention my guy in L.A.?
Nathaniel Shielhouse.
There you are. Thank you.
I was just about to say Nathaniel Shielhouse.
He's not on the list either. Yeah, those teams, somebody needs, anybody who loses can be talked to then right away.
Okay.
But if they advance to the Super Bowl, then you got to wait another couple of weeks.
What do you have to say about what has gone into this particular list of names? Like Philip Rivers. What is that? Is that a favor to him, to his agent? Is that for real? For reals? Is that for reals, Philip Rivers? Is that maybe something that possibly could happen? Have you seen the betting odds today?
I have not seen the betting odds today.
All right. Want to play?
Sure.
So keeping in mind that this is more just we're trying to bring on action, who is the betting favorite to be the Bills' hire?
I'm going to say that is probably, I think it had been for a while. I'm going to guess it still is Brian Daboll.
Yes. Plus 150. Who's second? By a lot. Big gap between second and third.
Who is second? I'm going to say Clint Kubiak is second.
Philip Rivers.
Philip Rivers is second.
Who wrote this? Who are the ad wizards that came up with this one?
Well, 2 days in a
Philip
row,
Rivers, you can only get 2-1 on his being hired as the Bills coach at betonline.com.org.ca.
And there's a big gap to the third choice.
Brady is 7-1. Right. Like Brady, everybody outside, buy this. I don't even know. Like I don't, BetOnline is offshore. I like that they send us email. It's useful content.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There was a day when I was in the offshore streets or waters, if you prefer. But who decided Dable is 3-2, Rivers is 2-1, Brady is 7-1? Anybody other than Dable and Philip Rivers is like good price. You know?
Yeah.
Davis Webb, Clint Kubiak, they're all like 7, 8, 10-1.
Well, I mean, I don't know exactly what they're doing or what is motivating them, but I'm not inclined to get the least bit upset or make the least bit of fun of them.
The website?
No, the Bills.
Oh, okay.
As funny as seeing Philip Rivers' name floated as taking a head coaching interview with the Bills might be for a variety of reasons. No small part being that he just played for the Indianapolis Colts like a month ago, which is just incredible. Cast your net. Talk to as many. There's no harm in talking to, unless you're worried about people making fun of you. But I don't know. I mean, Wednesday was its own thing, and there was a lot to poke at. And I guess in a certain way, nationally, the Bills have put themselves in a position to be laughed at even more if everyone thinks talking to Philip Rivers is hilarious. But I don't think it's that hilarious. Go talk to the guy. You don't know. You don't know. And you might get something out of it, even if you don't work with him.
I'd pay $20 to find out whose idea it was.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I read that he and Allen share an agent.
Well,
so there's a relationship there. So maybe that's all it is. Maybe Allen said, you want me to come along in the life raft or in the main in the captain's quarters, whatever. I'm on this trip, right? I'm going to be in the room for all of this. Talk to my guy. If indeed he's his guy, I don't know. I mean, they share an agency. That doesn't have to mean that they're friends, but it might. They probably have been at events together where
sure.
agents get their clients together and whatnot. So I don't know. I don't think it's hilarious. It might be a really tough sell if they were to actually hire Philip Rivers.
Tell me about that.
But I don't think there's any harm in talking to him.
What would it sound like? How would it go over if they did that? Even as like coordinator, maybe would it seem ridiculous if they did that? You want a first time, not you necessarily.
Yeah.
You want a first time candidate. You want somebody young. He's not even as young as some of these other coaches, but still, you want somebody fresh, right? Does he qualify as fresh? Philip Rivers, maybe.
I think so. I mean, as a coach, yeah. I think they get dunked on mercilessly if they hire Philip Rivers.
Really?
I'm just saying I don't think there's any harm in talking to him.
Versus one of these younger coordinator types, you think?
I think one of these younger coordinator types, I think all the talking heads on TV line up and just lay out the guy's resume and what a rising star he was, and the Bills get in line with other teams like the Chicago Bears and the Jacksonville Jaguars, who found last year's flavor of the month from the coordinator pool, and they're hoping to strike the same kind of guy. I can write this for Ian Rappaport if he wants. He probably doesn't need my help. They probably have 20 people.
No, the agent's
that write for him. Yeah, right. So they don't need me, but that's what that says when it happens. So I don't think that gets laughed at if they hire a first-time coordinator, because lots of teams have been doing that.
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of fun. It's maybe also funny. But who's to say that however many years older even that he is versus like Davis Webb or Udinsky, that Philip Rivers wouldn't know just as much as those guys. I mean, calling plays, he's been through it. He's lived it for 20 years. Scheming an offense, he hasn't been the coordinator, but Rivers is, if any quarterback could be this, but he's sort of like the type that you think is sort of in charge of everything. Like he comes off as almost manic in that way. Not necessarily perfect.
I would
great,
expect
but
that he would have had a lot of say in what they did game planning wise when he was with the Chargers.
Yeah.
I don't know about this last
Me too.
this last run with the Colts here.
Me too.
Yeah.
What about leadership? Davis Webb. Forget whether he and Allen are BFFs. Just like, all right, well, what does he know? Played the position in the NFL barely, but did. Coached under Sean Payton, backed up Josh Allen. Like, he has certain connections. And then, you're going to maybe like his personality. I know nothing about it. He has enough fans in the space that are selling him as a possibly realistic idea. But that can be very political. Still, like, who knows? I don't know anything about this guy except those things. Phillip Rivers, however, has been on the stage. Not like Davis Webb. Nobody could tell you if that's Davis Webb standing next to them in line at the bathroom. Phillip Rivers has been on the stage for decades. Like he's rocked it. So I don't know. Does that mean anything? Does that maybe put him as somebody more credible than a third string guy that maybe has a good smile and a good name and knows the right people? Not to condescend. I don't know. Like maybe it should. maybe it should allow for him to be taken seriously in this.
I think my experience, this is not 100%. What is 100% correct across the board? But my experience with players in all, well, I don't say all sports. I've mostly dealt with hockey players and football players because I do this job in Buffalo. Respect guys who've done it on the biggest stage. So there is, to me, a level of authority and credibility with the players. Okay, I'm not talking about, again, out here, right? The national or even the local talk shows. The players, I think, would, two candidates, they don't know the names, and you've got the resumes up of their playing careers. The average player in the league is going to gravitate to the guy with Phillip Rivers is his resume. They're going, that guy, look at that. The guy's done everything. I mean, he didn't do literally everything. He didn't win a Super Bowl, just like we haven't.
Or make one.
Or even make one, right. So, yeah, he's
perfect. He's
sort of like 8 years into Allen's career. There might start to become a comp there even. I don't know. That could happen. I think it's already been out there. As much as McDermott was Marty Schottenheimer, it's convenient. They're both Chargers, at least for large stretches of their careers. Anyways, I think players buy Phillip Rivers before he even says a word, more than they buy the other guys, Udinsky or Davis Webb or anybody. They're an easier sell. Now what is that worth? Beyond that, you got to have the goods and you got to produce and you got to help make everybody better and all the stuff that goes into being a coach, which is I didn't even scratch the surface of what it entails. But credibility wise, you're in the lead. You've almost lapped the field, I think, at inception because of the resume. Even though it's only a player and he's only coached high school at this point.
It's wild. It's fun.
It is. It is.
Phillip Rivers. The other team's like, wait, is that something we could have done?
Right. He's coaching.
Is he interested?
He wants to coach.
Is he interested at all? Like maybe Tennessee or Arizona is going, all right, well, what's the harm?
Put a call in.
Mike McDaniel. I was listening this morning.
It's growing on me a little bit.
And, okay, I'm excited to hear more. I was listening this morning, and Joe started to talk about Mike McDaniel by his last name. Like, he must mean McDaniels, New England, because Mike McDaniel was hired by L.A. And it wasn't until an hour later that I realized, wait a minute, no, this is actually right. And the Bills went to Florida. Smart.
Yeah.
They went to Florida. I mean, much of the country, if not most of the country, is going to be, hammered by weather in the next few days. But, it's Buffalo. They got out. They went to Florida. We'll do our meetings here. Maybe there's a super yacht. Try to make it work down there. Mike McDaniel. He is my favorite candidate of all of them. And I resent the continuing slander that somehow he is less than as a coach based on, overtly the results of the Miami Dolphins, or more subtly how he dresses or how he, wears his hair or anything, or how he talks, anything like that. I am absolutely a fan and an advocate for this guy, and he's a great example, in my opinion, of how stereotypes can really play a large role in how these people are perceived. McDaniel, for the last 2 years, has been written off halfway through the seasons, losing seasons for Miami, at the time at least, as somebody that could not, well, I guess I was right. He can't be trusted as a leader. He's not serious. He's not the way Sean McDermott would be perceived. No disrespect to Sean, but clean cut, talks about God, these kinds of things. Here's McDaniel, who's completely different, outwardly at least, than McDermott, and, well, we can't really take him seriously. Well, he won more games than he lost in Miami. He had 2 seasons in a row that went completely sideways, and he did not, by their results, lose the locker room or anything like that. They hung in there. In Miami, where nobody seems to respect the quarterback, or maybe the owner. Maybe not an easy job. So I'm for Mike McDaniel. I never thought, and I still don't think the Bills will hire him because they beat up his teams. You can't really do that.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping for the best for him.
Well, I appreciate all of that. The one-loss record is inarguable, and I admit to not even really realizing that last year was as similar to this year. Because last year is really the year that was, no people aren't showing up. Like it sounded like an insurrection was going on down there. And that was a narrative that carried through the summer that I talked about a lot coming into the season. It's part of the reason I thought they were going to implode. And then the season began and it looked like they were going to implode, but then they didn't. And I think that is to be respected, that they held together there. But the lack of discipline stuff did happen. It's all on the record almost, I believe, from 2 years ago. I don't think that was the case last year, and that also is to his credit. I always sort of wanted him to work, but I think the stereotype is a big deal. I think that works against a guy in that world. That's why I thought when he got the job, as much as I can root for the guy that's the head coach of the Miami Dolphins to work, because style-wise, I would like it to work. I'd like the league to open itself up enough to accept that a guy that has, he's wearing capri pants and sandals and maybe vaping or whatever, like he can do the job. But I worry about him in front of a room full of football players, like buying it, because of what they're used to. And they're more used to the guy that's like McDermott than they are the guy that's got the aviator shades on.
Well, that's when it becomes a person's task to win them over, to convince them that they're credible. And unlike